Welcome to Saturday night. It is Pontificating with Pete on Revolutionary Change. Hope you're all doing well. Let's make sure that we get this out there to as many people as possible. As you know, we're continuing to fight that algorithm. But if you would be so kind, please make sure that you do smash that like button. And of course, we have a hell of a lot to cover this evening. I believe Clint Russell will be here within the next 10 minutes and possibly our friend, the redheaded libertarian Josie as well. So we'll see. I want to be very clear when it comes to any time I have segments that I cover regarding content creators. Knowing who the honest operators are and who are not, and we've talked at great length about, are people on the take? Are they being paid? We know that this is something that is a big problem here. And Colin, I need that clip, please. I don't know why you pulled it. So I again, time's of the essence, so I don't want to delay this. So Riley Gaines is somebody who obviously everybody knows came to prominence because she was the most outspoken individual regarding Leah Thomas and the whole swimming scandal, which I 100% was against Leah Thomas and what that was all about. To me, that's a publicity stunt. It should never have happened. And of course, as we all know, anytime these issues specifically pertaining to things like, trans athletes, this is something that has become a major problem, to say the least, because it distracts away from economic issues, which is always the intent. And so she decided to parlay this into some type of a political career, which is, again, pretty pathetic because, dime store type stuff, anybody could pop up and start doing it. But as we've pointed out in many cases, and this is more prevalent on the right than it is on the left, believe it or not, because of the money that's available. But trust me when I tell you, if there was this type of money going around, you would have a hell of a lot more Hassan Pikers, if you will, in left circles than you do the Tim Pool grifting class types on the right. And so I want to be very clear that when you get caught like this, I don't know how anybody could ever come back from it. And it would not surprise me in the least if this is a sort of a death blow to whatever political career she thought she had. But this kind of gives away the game.
Wait, tell me the pillars again. So it's pro-life.
So, First Amendment, Second Amendment, sanctity of life, and veteran and first responders.
Okay.
And
First, second. Yep. Cool. The First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the sanctity of life, our veterans, I feel very passionately about. Do you guys, if you're going to talk about, I mean, you hate to even call them political issues, but do you specifically say like the left or the right, or is that something you try to kind of refrain from? Like if I were to say something to the effect of like the left is still doubling down.
Yeah, you can say.
Trust me when I tell you, this probably goes on far more often than you could possibly imagine, especially when serious money's involved and they feel that certain people would be good spokespeople. And we see this throughout all corners of the political arena. This isn't a MAGA specific problem, although it obviously is a problem because a lot of the MAGA influencers, if you will, are obviously paid. And in many cases are paid very handsomely. And Riley Gaines is probably somebody who has been paid handsomely. So is it really surprising that she's basically saying, okay, so what is it you want me to say so that I could collect my $7,000 check? Well, that's ostensibly what's happening here. And as I said, I'm not specifically singling her out because I believe this is a much greater problem than people realize. I have no doubt that this goes on far more often than people would want to believe. But this is how it is. Pay me, and I'll say whatever you want. Now, is it possible she believes some of this stuff? Yeah, it's possible. I'm not going to say that it's not possible that she doesn't share all of these or doesn't subscribe to these ideologies. But it's a career. This is about getting paid. Now, I don't know who leaked this, and I don't know if it was intentional. Maybe somebody doesn't like working with her. Maybe somebody thinks that she's too much of a diva and doesn't want her being part of this. Whatever the reasoning is, this is just a pretty good example of what actually goes on. People get paid to spew certain types of rhetoric. And as we know, there is no greater pay machine than anyone who's willing to spew the talking points related to Israel. So this is just one of those examples, but we'll finish out what she had to say.
I've heard you introduce from the beginning, so.
Okay, first, that's what I needed to figure out really quick, is when I first, I mean, definitely over a year though. I would say, can I just say that, like, around 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Wait, tell me the pillars again. So it's
Okay,
pro-life.
So, First Amendment, Second Amendment, sanctity of life, and veteran and first responders.
Okay.
And
First, second.
conservatives.
Yep. Hello, my name is Riley Gaines, and I'm a very, very proud Patriot Mobile user, and I have been for about 2 years now.
Yeah. 2 years in hypersleep, maybe. But there you go. This is how it is. And so, will this hurt her career in any way? Maybe, maybe not. But it can certainly, it lends to the reality of what we've been talking about regarding certain, people, when you look at the algorithm and what picks up on their channel, what gets ridiculous numbers. Some people pay for clicks, but then there are others that are being paid to spew certain talking points that they know will get on the algorithm, and then they will get paid as well. So one of the things that we've done here is not shy away from what is necessary. And that is talking about issues that will ultimately get us rejected by the algorithm. And that's okay. Those are, it is the game we play. Not that we want to play any games, but, we recognize that this is a serious problem. And so Riley Gaines is one of many that is going to be under the microscope. And now we will find out for sure if anything is going to come of this. Will it? I don't know. I just know that if anybody was questioning whether these guys, whether you have people in media that actually gets paid to say what they're saying, they are paid to say this. This isn't new. And that's why, Clint Russell is a friend of the show. We have our disagreements, but one of the reasons that Clint and I have always gotten along is because I respect the hell out of his honesty. And that's a rare bird in politics, having the ability to communicate with people that you may not ideologically line up with, but at least are coming at specific issues from an honest place. That's a very hard thing to find these days. And as we know, a lot of people like to get pigeonholed into their corners of ideology and what makes them feel comfortable. And having these conversations, I think, are immensely important because we need to show people that regardless of where you stand on the political spectrum, if you're coming at it from an honest place, you can have that dialogue. People that are opportunistic and are being paid to do it, there is no dialogue there because they're answering to somebody else. And in this case, a lot of them are answering to a foreign country against the interests of the average American. And that's a big fucking problem. And the idea that this isn't front and center with everything that we talk about today, credit to Brandon Stratka for bringing two panels together. And for those of you who have seen some of the clips, we're going to talk about it now. When I saw that Clint went off on who I think is maybe the biggest low-life grifter of them all, Eyal Yakoby, who clearly is an Israel firster. I mean, for the love of God, he makes it so clear as day that he doesn't care about this country. But he sure as hell cares about getting our money. Stereotype, I know. But with that being said, you know him from the Liberty Lockdown podcast. He's been a guest before. He does great work. He'll continue to do great work, and he's doing it with us tonight. Clint Russell, welcome back to Revolutionary Change.
Thank you for having me, man. Yeah, the reaction from that debate has been pretty crazy so far. I did a kind of retrospective on my show yesterday, and I'm actually pissed at myself I didn't go harder on Eyal because I think he really deserves it. And I genuinely believe that some of those folks are on the foreign payroll you were talking about just a second ago. So,
well, I think you were consciously sitting there trying to conduct yourself in the most professional way possible, because I think in the back of your mind, you realize that this is an opportunity to make a clear distinction between those that are loyal to this so-called MAGA movement, which is really a splice of the Israel First movement, versus the America First movement, which is a combination. Obviously, it leans very libertarian in a lot of ways, but it has this working class component to it that is very that's Jen, of course, obviously. Jen says hi, Clint.
Yeah, well, I'm on the same payroll as Tim now, so I have to wear the hat. I'm kidding.
You rock the beanie well, man. I got to tell you, you do.
Well, thank you. Yeah, Tim's a buddy of mine, actually. Despite our very significant disagreements at this point. Sorry, you were saying, and you got cut off by the the jab at my head. I haven't shaved my head today. That's why I put on the beanie.
Maybe that's what it is for Tim. Maybe Tim is still trying to hold on for hope, but whatever it is, I think you rock it pretty good. And I mean, you could say that, especially since you're not. Listen, I'm very lucky to have the head of hair that I have, and baldness is actually something that's in my family. So I am doubly lucky for that. So with that being said, it really. This is a conversation that's kind of gone under the radar, I think, in a lot of respects, because the only people who are really talking about it are people that are in the America First movement. I am not seeing this even being covered even a little bit in what I would consider populist left circles. So I think it's very important that we do talk about this. This is the clip that I saw that I thought was kind of like the touch point. And for those who obviously have been following our channel, you guys know what I think of Eyal Yakoby. I do not hide my feelings about him. I think he is not only a grifter, but he's basically a foreign agent. Everything he does operates on behalf of the state of Israel. This is somebody who is a full-blown Nepo baby. He grew up in privilege in Princeton, New Jersey. His father is from Israel. He is a professor at my freaking alma mater, Rutgers University. And when I start thinking about all of when you really unmask all of, I mean, again, you can go down so many rabbit holes with so many people in terms of how they got to where they got. But it is pretty clear that in Eyal's case, he kind of had the red carpet rolled out from him from the time he was a child. And so now he is invited. Why Brandon invited him, I don't know. Then again, he was the more tame. He was even more tame than the other Looney Tune who was on that panel, which we'll talk about. But this to me really said a lot. And your temperance here, I thought, was obviously you were going to blow your top, but you were able to hold it together.
Days ago. That's not a fucking win. It's a massive sacrifice.
Dad, who said that? That's the goal, though.
No, they were just trading in the U.S. dollar. That doesn't mean we ran straight. That's just the currency.
We're not going to run straight anyways, because they can always control the throne.
I would like the JCPOA back. When did I ever say that?
Because you want them to not have a nuke. That's what the fucking JCPOA was.
You didn't hear me the first time, so I'll restate it. JCPOA.
I don't need to hear it, bro. They had the JCPOA and they didn't develop a nuke.
You're just lying. You're like the JCPOA.
They didn't develop a nuke.
They didn't develop a nuke because of concerted efforts in terms of cyber hacking, which we've already been over, and assassinations against the top nuclear scientists.
There was inspections. There was regular inspections for years.
No, there wasn't.
So you align more with Obama's foreign policy, is what you're saying?
On Iran, absolutely. Okay. Obama was absolutely right about the JCPOA. Well, it was the best thing he ever did.
It's just lies.
Okay, so it's not a lie, but he's paid to say that. Yeah, I would say that if you're looking at anything to hang your hat on from the Obama administration, that's probably the best thing that he did. It was pretty significant at the time, no question about it.
At least in terms of foreign policy, I think it's, for a non-interventionist, granted, that's not really non-intervention. It's still intervention to try and dictate whether or not another country can have nuclear weapons. But in the A-B options that we're given as Americans, it's basically either kill them or have an agreement on paper that says we're not going to develop nukes. Well, obviously, I'm going to go with option B. I would really rather not go to war. So I stand by that. I think that was the best thing that Obama did. And I think that the JCPOA was actually really successful. Iran stuck to it. The IAEA inspected for all of the years. And they, along with our State Department, which confirmed it, along with other foreign countries, which also confirmed it, said that Iran was not enriching past 3.67%. That's just the facts. If Eyal wants to say that the UK government and the American government and our State Department and everybody else. And by the way, this was under Donald Trump. This was 2017, 2018. His people were saying that they were sticking to their promises, that they were not enriching past the 3.67%, that they had not, that there was a fatwa against development of a nuclear weapon. And it appeared that they genuinely were sticking to that it was against their religious values to create a nuclear weapon and that they were not pursuing one. So it just makes me furious when it's obviously factual what I'm saying, and he's calling me a liar. And I'm like,
Look, I mean, I even see people in the chat now saying F Obama. It's like, guys, we're not here to support Obama. Well, what I know for a fact, if you look back on it now, when you think about how much money the Israel lobby spent to make sure that when Trump got in, that he would undo the Iran nuclear agreement. I mean, that took an ungodly amount of money. I mean, Miriam Adelson, I have no doubt, played a big role in that as well. So you could say what you want about Obama, and I have absolutely zero love for the guy, but he did get that right. And you know he got it right because of how Israel reacted to it. To me, that's
exactly. No, exactly right. And this is just my opinion. Obviously I can't prove it, but I believe that the tearing up of the JCPOA was Trump's promise to Adelson in his first presidential term, that he would do that, because it was very hard fought. I mean, people don't understand the amount of political capital that Obama had to expel to get that done, that it was totally against the will of AIPAC or the RJC. Like everybody that was, Israel Zionist aligned really didn't like the JCPOA because it took the lie off the table. It took the threat of Iran developing a nuclear weapon, or surreptitiously developing a nuclear weapon under the cover of darkness. It took it off the table. There was inspections all the time. They knew that they weren't developing one. So all of the Bibi Netanyahu lies about how they were very close to having one and we needed to bomb them or, ground invade or whatever else, it all fell on deaf ears as long as the JCPOA was in place. So I think that Trump in his first term tore up the JCPOA in 2019 on his way out the door, because that's what he promised Adelson. And I think that he bombed them in his second term because that's what he promised them. That's my honest opinion.
Yeah. And I do agree. Moving the embassy to Jerusalem obviously didn't help either. And that's another reason to point to the hostilities that have obviously gone nuclear at this point, no pun intended, but we'll finish this up.
Yeah.
It's like the JCPOA fully allowed them to have multiple underground facilities as they do today and develop as much nuclear enrichment as possible. No, there wasn't. The IAEA.
You're a liar. You're a liar.
Anyone watching this, go online and see what
Look
the
it up. Look it
IAEA
up.
said
Look it up.
themselves.
It's amazing. It's like you could tell which guys are going to the Daily Wire Ben Shapiro School of Debating, that they all follow the same pattern. Speak loud, speak effectively, be a semi-comprehensive, comprehended linguist of sorts, and run with that. And in his case, he's tall, he's got a deep voice, he's Israeli. So, he thinks that people are going to listen to him, that, he's got something to offer here. But no, he doesn't. And it obviously, I'm sure that there is more that you can talk about now that we did not see, because we're not going to sit here and just play clips all night. I want to know what else you took away from that conversation, anything in particular when it comes to Yakoby, because we're obviously going to get to the conversation about Epstein, which was the creme a la creme of the whole night.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think the thing that I really took away from it was, one, there's really no difference between the MAGA side and neocons at this point. Like, anybody who is still riding with MAGA has an imperialist empire worldview for America. Like, even Gavin McInnes, which, I like, but man, I couldn't disagree with him more. Like, all of them. Yeah, maybe you could be right. I really don't know.
What other reason could there possibly be? I mean, at this point, you look around, you see what's going on. Our country is literally collapsing under its own weight, and people have no idea how hard we're going to be getting hit with inflation by the end of the summer, how much worse things are going to get in terms of costs. Who the hell knows what's going to happen tomorrow? I want to remain optimistic that we might get something done positive, but as long as Israel is involved with our country,
they'll blow up every
nothing
deal.
Positive is ever going to come of it. That's my opinion.
Yeah, they'll blow up every deal, and they absolutely don't want any deal to be signed this weekend. So I would suspect that one won't be. Yeah, I mean, as far as why Gavin has that worldview, I try and always give people the benefit of the doubt and believe that it's sincere disagreement, that it's not bought. And my read of him is that it's sincere, that he has kind of the old school American superiority complex, and while you and I agree that America is essentially collapsing under its empire, he would argue that the way you save America is by increasing its wealth via the empire, which is obviously insane and ridiculous. But I think that's a sincerely held belief. I could be wrong. With Eyal, really the whole panel, and I said this on my show, and it sounds like sour grapes, but like we won the debate, so it's not sour grapes. I honestly believe that there's an intellectual divide too. It's not just principle. Like there is a real incapacity for some of the folks on the opposition side to understand like high level economics, to understand second, third order effects. Like they really don't get what I'm saying sometimes. Like when I was trying to argue like what you guys are saying, like your win condition for the Iran war is what existed in 2019 before Trump tore up the JCPOA. Like they couldn't even process it, like it was like I was speaking, alien or something. But that's obviously what they were saying. They want to have, actually, it would be even weaker. Eyal said he wants a memorandum of understanding that they're not going to develop a nuclear weapon. I was like, we had better than an MOU. We had an actual signed agreement that was enforced by, it was a multilateral agreement between multiple foreign powers too, that were all interested in enforcing it and making sure that it was valid and being lived by. So there's a real intellectual gap there. You could write it off as maybe it's not intellectual and that they're paid to lie. That's certainly possible, but I'm just being honest. Like I felt as if it was sincere that they could not process some of the things I was talking about. Like they really.
I would say that either on the one hand they don't know how to process it, or they are paid not to understand. There is such a thing,
and it's both at different topics.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And that's why when you see, again, I don't know who this Bella or whatever her name is, this giving
Linda.
What's her name?
Linda.
Okay, giving new meaning to the term feisty Latina, but I think that she was basically playing that up for the cameras because, again, a lot of these people are strictly career driven. This is an opportunity to try to make an impression on whoever has the bag that she's trying to get her hands on. And so this conversation between her and Josie, and again, I wish Josie had the time to hop on with us tonight, but this was to me one of the most mask off moments that you could possibly have. Because when you get into a conversation about Jeffrey Epstein and you are looking for ways to defend him, something really wrong is going on here. And to me, defending Epstein is defending Israel in totality, as far as I'm concerned. It means there is no light that is allowed to pass through when it comes to the issue of Israel. If you're paid by us, you defend us on every topic, including this.
So, but we're not denying. No, wait. We're not denying that Epstein was a pedophile, right?
Well, that's not how you do that.
But
you have
hold
discussions
on. We're
about
not
it.
denying he was a pedophile, right?
I haven't seen evidence of prepubescent.
You just said.
But he is banging mine.
You said there's no nuance.
I've never seen evidence of that. They've all been post-pubescent.
So now Epstein is not a pedophile?
I don't think so. No.
Gavin, what are you doing, man? It has been documented that these girls were as young as 13 years old. I don't give a flying fuck if they have hair on their vagina. This is insane.
Yeah. Well, it gets even crazier in a second. There's another clip where Linda actually goes so far as to say the girls weren't victims because they were bragging to each other about the money that they were receiving from Epstein. That they were defending Epstein, saying, he did nothing wrong. The charges should be dropped. They were 14 and 16 years old. He was, this was the conviction that he had in 2008 or 9. It was the solicitation of, prostitution from a minor, which he got that sweetheart deal from Acosta. But right. I was in the recap of my show, I said, and this is sincere, I was struggling to speak because I was so shocked by what was happening in front of me. Like to have all of my opposition suddenly unify around the idea of Jeffrey Epstein. Not only was it not an Israeli op, not only was Trump not involved, which I thought that they would probably defend on that line, they went so far as to basically say Epstein was innocent because the girls didn't perceive themselves to be victims. I was like, this is unfucking believable. I can't believe that I'm like, this is even happening. I finally got it together a couple minutes later after it sunk in that this was not a dream. And they just destroyed themselves. I think that this is so, for those that watched, the entire debate, I went through the comments and it was the first night that this came out, there was 1,000 comments and I was watching the full 3-hour plus debate. So I had time to read all the comments or, at least, just look at them briefly. And It was 997 in our favor and 3 for MAGA.
I mean, 3 for MAGA were probably paid anyway, so there you go.
Well, yeah. Well, and when I say 3 for MAGA, it was like 2 of them were just like, I don't like these libertarians. Why are they even here? You know, so it wasn't like really Team MAGA. So it was like basically 1 for MAGA.
Well, you know, this is like the debate that we've had, you know, in the past regarding single payer healthcare. It's like we can at least have that conversation about single payer as populist left and populist right, because if we're on the same page that we probably need to cut our military budget in half, I would say at least, then we can have a conversation about what is the best way to spend money on healthcare. You cannot have that conversation with people who think that what we're currently doing is acceptable discourse, because it's not beyond the pale at this point.
No, of course. And that was I think that was the thing that was, I was most disappointed with Gavin McInnes about, is that he was arguing how this is the most, you know, genius geopolitical risk that we've ever seen from a president, and how the outcome of this could be that it totally reorients the geopolitical landscape. And I was just like, I don't think these people actually understand tactically why the Strait of Hormuz is even important. Like, I don't think that they get it.
That's crazy.
Because I don't think that they understand what the petrodollar system is. I don't think that they understand, after the gold window was closed by Nixon in the 70s, that 2 years later we negotiated a deal with the Saudis to get them to sell their oil and gas in the US dollar, which ultimately became the underpinning of the value of the dollar. And like, that is the major fact. That's the reason the Strait of Hormuz matters more than anything to America. Like, it matters to Europe because of goods going through there, obviously, but it matters to America because they sell in the US dollar. And I don't know what Gavin, like, if he understood that, I don't think he would actually still think that this is intelligent, because he seems to think that like we're just taking oil away from China, but it's not what's happening. Like, it's just not reality. They're still getting oil and gas from China, from Iran. They get it from Russia. We've totally reoriented and tilted the world away from the American empire. We haven't strengthened the American empire at all. We've strengthened China's empire, if you want to look at it that way. So
sure. I mean, look, if anybody's at the head of the class when it comes to BRICS, it's definitely China. And if there is a currency that is going to supersede the US dollar, it is the Chinese yuan. So we are making their path to being the global dominant power much, much easier. And
and we're expediting it. We're turning it from like a 50-year transition into a 10-year transition. It's just, it's suicidal. So that was the thing that I was most frustrated about, is like, I don't feel like they honestly understand that. And because you couldn't ever talk for more than 10 seconds without getting trampled, I really never was. Yeah, I was never really able to go down a deeper explanatory pathway, and that was very frustrating. But we got 9 people there.
Well, this is why I have you on and why we have these conversations, because the fact of the matter is, it's called, you know this, it's called flooding the zone. You know, if you are a paid Israel op, you are basically told, cut them off at every angle, no matter what they try to say. You just absolutely cut them off every chance you need to.
Yep.
If somebody steps in and tells them to be quiet, then so be it. But if that's not happening, then you continue to do that. And so, believe it or not, guys, this gets a hell of a lot worse.
Do you think he was an asset for intelligence?
There's 32 states that have the age of consent at 16 years old, by the way, Owen.
This is amazing. See, actually, this is a very pivotal moment. This is where MAGA is out. This is where MAGA.
No, hold on. You don't get this.
So I say, have at it. Defend Epstein. The stage is yours. The floor is yours. The floor is yours.
Do you know why you unfollowed me? Because I corrected you and run facts about Epstein, and you got upset.
No, actually, you unfollowed me because you tried to blackmail me.
No.
Yeah, you tried to blackmail me, Linda.
I tried to blackmail you after.
Yeah, you did. You tried to blackmail me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I tried to blackmail you after.
That's right.
No.
Wait, are you admitting you blackmailed her?
Yeah, she did. She is.
Absolutely, I am. You think Mossad is bad? I'm fucking worst.
Listening to you well, I'm not going to say that I would want anything to do with Mossad, but it's like, I don't know who this lady is. I have never listened to her before. I'm not going to listen to her again. But between you and Josie just being like, okay, fine, you want a clip, you're going to get one. It's probably not going to result in what you think you're going to get out of it. Everyone probably already thinks you're a lunatic. But to even make a statement like that, that's incredible.
Yeah, well, it's admission of a crime, actually. But yeah, I mean, she was really scary, honestly. Like I thought she was going to fight Josie. I don't know if you're going to play that clip later, but
no, but I know what you're talking about. And she's like, I don't know why you brought her on here. And I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
girl, this is not going anywhere near the way that you think this is. Well, I guess they could not possibly get Loomer in that room because that would not have ended well. So I guess I got the next best thing. But there really is something. No, go ahead.
I've done shows with Loomer before in person. I did on IRL. I get along with her way better than I did this chick. I mean, this lady is scary. I no exaggeration. I thought that it was going to be a full-on assault from her against Josie, because obviously Josie wasn't going to go fight her. People can't tell by the camera, but this lady is closer to my size than to Josie's. I mean, Josie's very tiny. So
Interesting.
I'm in GA to avoid Laura Loomer.
Owen, guess what? I corrected you one time and I said, you got the dates wrong. And what did you do?
On what?
You're protecting pedophiles.
On what?
I corrected you.
What
on some wrong, I don't remember the exact thing. It was some wrong stuff.
So,
and I said, no, I said, Owen,
so
that's
you
not what
believe
happened.
it-
This is what happened
so
because I
Epstein
have
was
read the
having
fucking
pizza, grape
files.
soda, and beef jerky. That's what you
Probably.
Okay, so there it is.
Probably.
So there it is. You believe it.
Okay, are you going to take
And
that
if
to
you-
court?
and if you have a
think
kid-
that's evidence of
and if you have a
pedophilia?
kid
You're going to
with
go
a
and say,
phone-
hello, FBI, this is the evidence that I have. Grape soda mentioned 1,000 times in pizza?
Yeah,
That's
so you
the
believe
evidence
that.
you have?
So you believe if you
That's the evidence
look
you
at your
have?
if you look at your kid's phone. Hold on, let me say this. If you look at your kid's phone and your kid is talking
Owen,
about pot
tell
and
me.
grass,
No, I
what are
already
they
know
talking
this
about,
analogy.
Linda?
I already know
what
this
are they
analogy.
talking about, Linda?
Why don't you tell
what
me
are they
how the
talking
thing
about?
started?
Are they talking
I
about
don't really
pot?
give a shit
Or are
what
they talking about weed?
I
They're
don't
talking
really
about
give a
drugs
shit what
right
they
now.
talked about. Did they rape the kids or not?
Yes, kids were raped.
Yes, but there's
Absolutely.
photo evidence.
Okay,
There's
so
photo
Sharon-
evidence. Like, you have
Defend Epstein. Take it away, guys. Take it away.
I mean, Owen's pretty good at what he does. You know, Owen Stroyer, give him credit. You know, he's with Alex for many years, and you know, he's handling himself pretty well here. And I would also say that, you know, you would think that these conversations could be fruitful, but anybody at this point who has gone down that, whatever, again, you want to call it MAGA, you call it whatever you want to call it, but it's basically people who are willing to follow Trump off the deep end because it pays. I don't see anybody who could possibly be ideologically inclined to whatever this is unless there's a monetary exchange going on. It doesn't make any sense. No one's acting this way. You know, Linda's not acting this way unless it's paying.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's probably true for most people, but there is also a cult of personality phenomenon that is really, really real around Trump. Like, people are so desperate that they have committed so much of themselves, their financial well-being, they've lost relationships in support of Trump, that I think many of them are just pot committed, that they don't want to accept. Like, I have some relatives like this. They do not want to accept that Trump is not on their side. They cannot accept that. It's too painful for them. And this is real. So I'm not saying that I'm not trying to give credit to anybody on that panel that they're from that worldview. I think you're probably right that many of them are being paid. But there are some people that are, especially the older demographics in America, that just like, they look at Trump as their last line of defense, and they will not accept any sort of evidence to the contrary that he's not on their team anymore.
And that's why Theo Vaughn getting off the bandwagon right off the bat, he's like, listen, I mean, he said what he said when he was campaigning. And a lot of what he said I agreed with, especially when you compare it to Biden and Kamala. So I made a decision. And then as soon as he started doing what he was doing, I was off it. So
that's what I did.
Credit's due.
Yeah, that's what I did. I mean, I was really hopeful because of the RFK Jr., Tulsi, Elon, Vivek. Like, it wasn't that none of those people are perfectly aligned with me, but in terms of what we're always offered, this, you know, poo-poo platter of garbage, AB binary, I was like, well, this is the most interesting of the binary I've ever been offered. You know, it's just the truth. So I was really hopeful, but now all of those people are out. All of them. Or, I mean, RFK Jr., there's rumors that he's going to drop out in about a month. I don't know if that's true, but it looks, even if he doesn't drop out, he hasn't accomplished much. He's obviously been stonewalled. He's completely flipped on most of the corporate capture. So it's just, you know, I wanted to be a little optimistic as a lifelong libertarian that has never had any hope in the duopoly. And I was like, this seems like there might be a shot of us getting, I don't know, 20% of the promises, and we got like 2. You know, so
well, you know, if there is a silver lining to this, is that you can now you can move forward without ever being fooled like this again. It only takes one of these instances where you just know that unless you do check these boxes and there is no gray area whatsoever, this person cannot be trusted. And that's why Massey is such an immensely important figure in this moment right now, because he was willing to become a political martyr in order to forward the America First agenda. That takes an immense amount of character. I am not giving Nancy Mace any credit. Yes. Well, I give Nancy Mace credit for sticking to the issue of getting out the Epstein files, 1,000%, because you need people who are willing to do that. But there is no question that she was a career climber, and that was her primary motivation. And so now we'll see what ends up coming out of this. But I think it is very important that we transition over to AOC, because it is obvious what the populist left is attempting to do right now. They are going to circle the wagons around her. It is obvious with the independent media sphere, if you even want to call it that at this point. But I want people to understand exactly what her plan is and why the Democratic liberal Zionist movement is so much more dangerous, because they put so many more people to sleep. You don't see it coming. But Alex decided to put this video clip out yesterday with two other congressional representatives, Congressman Levin and Congressman Crow. Now, you'll listen to what she has to say, but then there's another layer to the story that she was not mentioning.
Jason Crow, and I'm here with my friends Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Mike Levin, and we just launched the In Corruption Caucus to go to the heart of the corruption in this administration, and that's overtaken our political system.
We all have experienced life and the frustrations with Washington, whether it's not being able to get our healthcare costs down or energy costs staying high. A lot of it has to do with corruption, whether it's billionaires who finance our political system or lobbyists that want to make sure that they exert influence so that we don't actually change the laws to make life for working people easier. Corruption is surrounding all of us.
And it's never been any worse than it is with Donald Trump in the White House. We've seen unprecedented corruption, everything from Donald Trump trading billions of dollars worth of inside deals and trading stock when the federal government is doing business, all these companies donating to the ballroom where we're receiving literally.
Insider trading has been going on Capitol Hill for many, many years. Many, many years.
Yep.
In fact,
the speaker had her own tracker on social media that people could follow all of her stock trades.
All Trump is doing is exploiting this broken system for all it's worth. And he knows that there's plausible deniability. With very few exception, they are all on the take. They have all done the same thing. So it's essentially, if I go down, you're all going to break my fall. You all know what the score is. And that's the way he's playing this game. So when they start talking about insider trading, that, oh my God, can you believe the insider trading that Trump is doing? Yeah, we can, because you allowed it to go on forever.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure he has, legally, technically divested himself of his portfolio, but all it takes is a phone call to whoever's managing his money to ultimately get in front of whatever decision he makes as president or whatever, Congress is about to pass. So, that's the other side that MAGA won't look at. Like, they won't even begin to accept the fact that Trump is profiting handsomely from his own corruption, from his own broken campaign promises. So it's reprehensible. But you actually cover the left side better than I do. So I don't know anything about AOC's legitimacy in these claims. So what, you were gonna break it down for me? You think she's
let's finish
full of
this
shit?
out, and then I'll show it. Colin, can I please get that tweet queued up?
$50 billion in federal contracts. We've got to put a stop to it, and we can't just talk about it. We've got to have a legislative portfolio to ensure that it never happens again.
At a time when our constituents are struggling to pay health care, they're losing their homes, farms are going under. What corruption really is it's theft. It's stealing out of the pockets of the people that we represent. So we're going to go after it. We're not going to apologize for doing so. We're going to go after taxpayer money that's being stolen from the people that we represent. And that's what this caucus is about.
And so many of our priorities here on the End Corruption Caucus include things like getting dark money out of politics, limiting the influence of corporate lobbyists in lawmaking, and also making sure that members of Congress don't buy and trade individual stock as well.
The sad reality is that there aren't that many members of Congress like us who don't take corporate PAC money, who don't trade shares of stock. We've got to do everything we can to make that the new normal. And we're going to do all we can in the months and years ahead to ensure that's the reality here in Congress.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. I bet they are definitely looking forward to endorsing you when you run for president. Here's a little something that a lot of people may not know about Congressman Jason Crow, who was a congressman in the state of Colorado. So it turns out that he has taken over $250,000 from the Israel lobby. No surprise.
Yeah.
So when you're going to start with corruption, this is exactly where you start. And then if you think he's bad, Colin, how about Mike Levin? Mike Levin has taken $500,000 in California's 49th district from the pro-Israel lobby. So this is just a sleight of hand.
Right.
You're not actually getting a representative who's going to do anything on your behalf to try to solve this problem. And so when we levy criticism at Alex, it is strictly based on policy. She is a completely uninspired orator as far as I'm concerned. Her vocabulary is marginal at best.
Limited.
And she comes off like a mean girl. Like she comes off like a hair-twirling mean girl who is still, living vicariously through her high school days. Like that is how she comes off. And when she's surrounded by these two guys who are knee-deep into supporting the state of Israel, how do you put this out there? And who is still getting fooled by it, I think, is the bigger question.
Oh, I think that the litmus test for legitimacy of politicians is actually universal at this point. Like, I'll explain. I think that if your favorite person in Congress is not being aggressively primaried by AIPAC, then they shouldn't be your favorite representative. Like, so MTG and Massey both were, I mean, she ended up resigning, but she was going to face the same gauntlet that Massey got put under with dozens of millions of dollars. That would be my question for you. Has AOC ever faced a $15 million primary bounty from AIPAC? I would guess probably not. And I think that tells you whether or not she's for real. And by the way, I think the other thing that I don't know if this stuff still works on anybody, our age or younger, is the canned 3 people in their suits, obviously with prepared talking points, like all looking at the camera and then smiling and then like, oh, we're going to do the incorruption thing. You're like, this is so obviously fake. I don't know. It just doesn't come across as sincere. If you are sincere, shouldn't you be fucking furious? Shouldn't you be angry that you're surrounded by a bunch of corrupt scumbags, that like 400 plus corrupt scumbags that are all profiting off of lying to the American people? But AOC standing there smiling, and it's like, and smiling, standing next to 2 of the corrupt scumbags. It's just like, oh, I hate these people.
Well, it says to me that she is still, well, first of all, she's extremely coached. She clearly is in bed with the consultant class now. That's obvious. And I think enough people have blown enough smoke up her ass that have basically convinced her that there is an opening here for her to be the Democratic nominee. But I would remind people that in the Democratic Party in particular, the reason why certain candidates can break through in the GOP that they cannot in the Democratic Party is because the Democrats have superdelegates. Let's not forget how they operate their primary system. Their primary system is completely corporate owned and bought, full stop. And they are also fully owned and operated by Israel. They just do it in a more rosy, polite kind of way. There is no changing that reality. There is a reason why anyone who's looking at this logically can see that the odds are right now that it could be a combination. I mean, listen, would it surprise me if the ticket is Newsom AOC? No, it wouldn't surprise me at all. Because if they think they can sell that, then that's what they're going to sell. The only person who's worth anything in the Democratic Party, if you truly want to say, I mean, we'll see what happens with Plattner, but at the end of the day, the only person who's worth anything in the Democratic Party is Zoran Mamdani. And the only reason you can say that definitively is because not only has he stood up to the Israel lobby, but he's been cutting off city contracts to Israel. Like, this is the type of thing that gets you killed. So you could say what you want about certain socialist policies that he's employing right now. Obviously, everybody, it's a very hot button issue is in regards to how to deal with housing in New York City. But when it comes to this particular issue, he has been as good as anybody in left politics. And that is why they are constantly harassing the shit out of him. He's already won, and his election isn't for another 3.5 years, but they don't care. They are at their wits' end, knowing that the leader of the biggest city in the world is against the Zionist cause. I mean, that thing reverberates. The only problem is that you only have one. So it's not like you're going to create a whole bunch of Zorons that are going to run. And the idea that somebody like Spencer Pratt was almost the nominee for mayor in LA, it's like, this is the type of stuff that I look at and I think, have we really run out of ideas, or are we just living through idiocracy right now at this point?
Well, but see, here's the thing. If you were from California, I'm from Southern California. I'm from San Diego. I spent 37 years there. You would recognize instantaneously that the reason someone like Pratt would have a chance is because the old guard is so disastrous.
I agree.
LA has been absolutely destroyed by the alleged progressive politicians. So, yeah, that's the reason that he was borderline viable, is because people are so desperate. But the real reality is one, I don't think the election system in California is legitimate, and two, almost all of the people who are right wing or conservative or libertarian leaning, not all, but a huge percentage of them left during the lockdowns. They left to Florida and Texas and Arizona and Nevada and Colorado. We all got out of there. Yeah. So now it's just the people who enjoyed the lockdown era that are remaining. So I know this because my mom still lives there, and she's like, every election cycle she goes, "No, I think we got a chance." And I'm like, "No, you don't. No, you don't. You're not going to change anything."
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I think that the state got exactly what it deserved, because obviously he is the left, but he's an honest operator, and I really like him. And that's Butch Ware, who was running on the Green Party ticket. And the Democrats made sure that he could not even be on the primary ballot. They kicked him off the ballot. They spent millions of dollars to make sure that he couldn't have a voice there. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm not saying that Hilton is going to win, because I don't think he will. However, do I think that Hilton is going to overperform? And do I think it's possible he's going to get 45% of the vote? Yeah, I do. Because I think that when you look at Xavier Becerra, who is the nominee, I mean, this guy is an avowed Zionist. He's a complete corporatist, and he basically is the token Latino that they have decided to put up. And when you really think about it, you're just kind of in no man's land. And I wasn't, listen, I was in Yosemite not too long ago, and I saw an ad for Steyer. He obviously spent a lot of money on the campaign. But is that what you've reduced yourself to? That a kind-hearted billionaire now has to run for governor to make sure that California doesn't sink into the Pacific? I mean, these are the little things that we look at from a political standpoint, where we say our country doesn't need to be California or Florida. Like, we don't need these levels of extreme. What we need is some semblance of sanity, which for whatever reason just seems to get lost as we're watching this country just kind of sink further and further into obscurity. And I'm just wondering, what is it that we can do at this point to try to avoid it? I think these conversations help, because I think obviously our audiences will intersect in different ways, and for better or worse. But like I said, not a lot of people are talking about this in a way that I think we should be doing right now. I don't think people truly understand economically how serious our predicament is, and just how much worse it is likely going to get.
Yeah, well, and how much the Iran war is exacerbating that dynamic. I mean, it's really existential, and Trump is not treating it as such, because his donors will not allow him to treat it as such. Because I don't think he's ideologically aligned with this. I think he's just purely, doing it in a transactional fashion. But it's really, really dangerous what they're doing, and people have not really felt what could happen if this war, blows up into a full-on, like, Iran shuts down not just the Strait, but I think it's the Red Sea or whatever other sea that they have access to, and what that would do to the global economy. Like, people, we're already dealing with record high grocery prices, near record high gas prices. Maybe it is record high at this point. If that were to really boil over into a full-on war, you're talking California gas prices in Florida. You're talking $8 gas in Florida. You're talking $12 gas in California. Like, people don't understand what that would do to the economy. It would be so devastating. And we're already dealing with severe inflation anyways, or price inflation. So that's why I'm so concerned about it, because I think, culturally we're already so divided. We're already so at each other's throats. And that's in a, quasi decent economic landscape. If it goes into severe recession or depression and we're already at each other's throats, like that, you're talking summer of love shit again. You're talking real on, full on riots. And then you're talking increase of the, technocratic state. You're talking surveillance. You're talking crackdowns from federal police forces and all sorts of terrible shit that I think the left and right, populists wouldn't like. So it's a very perilous time. And yeah, that's part of the reason that I like to do, conversations with you, but also in contrast to the debate that I did, is like, there really is a lack of seriousness, in my opinion, from the people that are still Team MAGA. Like, they're just not being honest about what we're up against, what we're facing, why the people who did vote for Trump in 2024 are so furious, and like why his approval ratings are in the shitter, why so many people have become outspoken critics of the entire movement. And it's not nothing. Like, it's a huge percentage of his base. And we're not making stuff up. Like, we're totally telling the truth about the failures and the lies and what he's done. So I just thought it was really important that we got to do that. And I don't know what the viewership is. It was over 50,000 after the first day. I hope that it goes crazy viral. I hope that everybody sees it. I hope that they understand that the divide is very stark. It's very sincere too. For at least from my side of the panel, I don't know about who was being paid on the opposition side, but I'm pretty confident that my side wasn't being paid. I don't know Emily at all, so I can't vouch for her. But myself, Josie, and Owen, I'm confident that we were telling the truth, and it was sincere, and it was for love of country, that it was about like genuine concern about the trajectory we're on. And I just don't feel as if the opposition had that same perspective. I really don't.
I definitely agree. I think we are in a very bad spot right now. And I also think that economically speaking, I mean, listen, this is a class war. I mean, this is what this is. There's really no getting around it. You and I have experienced different degrees of success in capitalism, but, there is no question that there are millions upon millions of people that are hurting, and they really do not see anything to get excited about, to have any faith in. And when you do not have faith in the system, revolution is inevitable.
Yeah, you want to burn it down because it's not working for you. And that's honestly, that's what you're seeing in Belfast also. So
yeah,
I don't know if you want to go there, but I think that the open borders schemes, the unmitigated immigration into Europe after the war on terror, has been really, really divisive. And like, it is just basically creating a boiling point for all of the Western world, America too. I mean, the whole reason Trump came to power is because of that. So I think people, especially on the Democrat side, ought to really have sincere conversations with the right wing about immigration. They ought to understand their perspective as opposed to just calling them racist. They ought to actually like dig in and see what is it that bothers them about seeing their cities and states change. What is it?
It's also, and again, there's a lot of people who don't like the fact that I am pretty conservative when it comes to immigration. And I've been very clear that assimilation is a big part of it. Yep. But it's also the fact that you are trying to you are opening the floodgates with the intention of never allowing any semblance of a legitimate workers' movement in the United States. And that doesn't mean socialism, but it means the ability to collectively bargain. It means again, Jen can say what she wants, but I do not agree. I think that we have different cultural distinctions in this world. For example, you have
obviously we do. That's why people want to come here.
Well, of course, but you also have language barriers. You have different cultural barriers, but there are things to be said for when you're in the United States and you don't have a pot to piss in. And one of the things that ends up happening is you bring in people from desperate lands that will do anything to just not have to live in an insane, depraved existence, whether it is the global South.
Are they calling you a KKK member because you believe in borders?
Shit, what they call me. Like they know it's all good. And they'll, because you're a white guy and you could say that. I'm like, no, it's because I fight on the side of workers. Like, I know what this is.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot tell me that this isn't a huge part of what the H-1B visa crisis is to begin with. It's not about whether they are capable of doing the job. It's that we don't do anything in this country to further worker capability.
Well, and also it's fascinating to me that, you know, Bernie Sanders actually got this right. He understood that the reason that the borders were being open from the right wing is because they wanted to undermine worker wages. Like that is why they were doing it. So, you know, I have a different reason for my opposition than you do, but I think we come to the same conclusion that this is a scheme by the powers that be. Like, this is not about what the American people want.
Well, not only that, but from the libertarian and progressive perspective, the immigration crisis can also be traced to military overexpansion. You know, there is really something to be said for what we do to these countries, how we pillage them, and then they find themselves desperately trying to seek sustenance wherever they can get it. Now, do I think that there are even more sinister things going on behind the scenes from people that are all the way down in, you know, maybe southern Brazil or places from around the world, you know, crossing ocean, how they managed to get to the southern border? Yes, I do. I do believe that there are intentions here. No one just has a magic carpet and they could just end up over there. There are a lot of, I don't think, again, maybe you've been in rooms like I have with people that have more money than God. Like, people really do not understand when you get to a certain level of wealth and affluence, and you could play God. That's what Elon does. That's what Gates does. It's what Zuckerberg does. You know, we could go on and on down the list. Obviously, Alex Karp to me is the most dangerous billionaire on the planet today. I think what Palantir is doing is beyond dystopian 1984 type shit. And at the same time, if they had it their way, there would be a ruling class and there would be nothing but serfs. That's it. That's all they would want. They would want that entire world to look exactly like that. And that's where we should be able to come together on that point.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think also, you know, I see that she's upset about this. Just to be clear, I don't disagree with her that, you know, we create the migrant crisis through our military industrial complex, as you were just elucidating.
Absolutely.
Like, that's obviously factual, but you also have to acknowledge that, like, those wars are waged against our will, where, you know, even the war on terror, it was waged based off of lies. They propagandized the American people to get us on board with that. So can we really be held to account and responsible for all of those refugees that we created against our, you know, either it was actually overtly against my will because I was opposed to the wars. But even for the people that were propagandized into supporting it, should they have their country essentially conquered by immigration because of the refugee crisis created by the military industrial complex, created by the propaganda complex? You know, like, it's very complicated, I guess is what I'm saying. And I just think that if you want to just write it off as like, these are imaginary lines and people ought to be free to travel, because that's been the libertarian argument for a long time, I think you're ignoring both cultural frameworks and also human nature. Like, people are tribalistic. They are going to ultimately get very upset if you allow for things to change very rapidly. And that's what's happened over the past, you know, couple decades. The immigration into America has been extraordinary, and to Europe, I think it's been even more significant on a per capita basis. And that's why you're seeing violent riots now. And I think you're going to see more of that. So I just don't know why people ignore like what is inevitable. Like, what they are doing is creating inevitable crises. And I don't know. I don't know what the argument is against that.
Well, I would definitely say nobody was living on USA land before. I see, again, this is the thing. If
the natives were, of course.
Well, yeah, that's, and there is no perfect world, and you're never going to have it. However, there are key issues that we could come together on as Americans right now. And I do believe that more than any other issue, we as Americans must reject the Zionist cause, full stop. That you can't.
I agree with that.
Again, people are rich, they're powerful, they're going to have influence, but we have the numbers. Overwhelmingly, people reject the Zionist cause. But because of how capitalism works and money makes the world go round, we are now faced with this reality of understanding the downside of capitalism. The biggest downside of capitalism is the concentration of wealth. That's not to say that people that are rich are inherently evil. But unfortunately, because of the amount of narcissistic sociopaths that strive to make as much money as possible, full stop, it is the Jews. It's always been the Jews. What, are you kidding? But if you're like when we talk about the Rothschilds, like, you can't be afraid to talk about this. You cannot be afraid to address one of those major pillars of the problem.
Well, it's just funny to me too that progressives can't wrap their head around this. Obviously, you can, but the chat seems to be very angry. Like, look at what happened to the Palestinians because of immigration and then ultimately conquest. Like, this is a real thing. And also, if you're going to bring up the Native Americans as some sort of like own for arguing about borders or immigration control, I bet you the Indians wish that they had border and immigration control to keep us the fuck out of here. So, you know, there's real arguments against immigration. Sorry.
Let me tell you something. On our channel, and again, I don't know if you have benefactors that contribute to our channel, but we don't. We have our patrons and we have our YouTube members, but we're a channel that's hovering around 128,000 subscribers, and Saturday night is usually our best night. We have 300 people watching right now. There was a period where we were getting over 1,000 regularly, up to 1,500 regularly watching, and now all of a sudden nobody's watching the channel. What changed? What changed is that our message was obviously resonating. And then another thing where we know for absolute certainty that our message is resonating, if you watch the stream, if you watch any of the clips, look at who advertises on our channel. You will see pro-Israel advertisements constantly. You will see anything.
They ran Daily Wire ads on my channel.
They do it on ours too. They do it on ours as well. And to me, it's obvious. What it also tells me is that there's people watching this channel that are keeping an eye on what we're doing. And I have no doubt that they're doing it on your channel as well. And
I was doing 50 to 100,000 consistently per show, and now it's been cut to like 15 to 20. And I don't know. It just seems like about a couple months ago, it just like hit a wall, and they were just like, nope, this is growing too fast. Like, I don't like this at all. I don't know. The algo changes all the time, so I try not to personalize it. But certainly the anti-Zionist, anti-war, it does feel as if they don't really like us having large platforms.
They got one or two choices. They can either suppress it and stick us in a corner, or they shut us down. But if you shut it down, then you draw way too much attention to it. And then people are really suspicious, and then things really don't go where you want them to. You could say, our channel doesn't have as many viewers. Oh, well, maybe people just don't like your content anymore. I'm like, well, I don't know. I know that when we put out a clip and it has 1,000 views and 300 likes and 150 comments, that's not normal. I know that's not normal. So we do what we do because it's the right thing to do. And so when you have to converse with people that you know are not honest operators, it is frustrating. But I applaud the shit out of you for doing what you did, because I think you handled yourself as well as you could. I know you wanted to blow your top a few times, but at the end of the day, the response from the average viewer was, it left no doubt. It was universal.
Yeah, it really
America
was.
first over MAGA, full stop.
Yeah, no, it was very, very good. I think that would actually be an interesting debate. I'll run that past Straka, see if he wants to do populist left, America first left versus America first right would be really interesting.
I would do it in a second, because I'm America first, 1,000%. Like to me, I worry about my country and I love my country. And the American flag is whatever you want it to be. Everyone thinks that it's a symbol of hate and it's this and that. No, it's not. It's the people that run this country that have turned it into a symbol of hate, because we the people have forgotten the principles that founded this country. You only have to read Thomas Paine's Common Sense to understand that.
Yep.
We have become way too complicit and way too comfortable. And this is one of the reasons I always say this is our greatest asset and it's our greatest detriment at the same time. And so when we can have conversations like this, make it imperative that we keep doing it. I'll talk to you all the time. I'll talk to Josie anytime. There are good people out there, and vice versa.
Yeah, there are. And honestly, I think there's probably, I have more in common with you than I do my opponents on that panel. I really do. And I think that the tie that binds is, people who are bought or ideologically captured, or those that aren't. And it's like, you and I disagree on a lot, but it's sincere. So it's very easy to have a respectful conversation about it because it's sincere, because I don't have talking points. I'm genuinely thinking, I'm absorbing what you have to say. I'm responding to that in real time. These people don't have that. And just to go back for a second, because I know you enjoyed dunking on Eyal, the most incredible part of the debate, people will probably not even notice it if they're not, if they're not paying close attention. He starts talking about Tucker Carlson out of the blue, by the way. No reason to be talking about Tucker Carlson, but he brings him up, right? Because he has prepared talking points. And he says, in 2022, Tucker Carlson was saying A, B, C. But in 2025, he totally flipped on that and he started saying A, B, C. And I was like, and I said, pause. Are you paid to track the transcripts of Tucker Carlson's monologues? Because there's no one on earth that could say, Tucker Carlson said in 2022, not 2021 or 2020, no, 2022. I was like, that is a prepared talking point.
Of course it is.
Yeah. And
It's
I was
not
like,
that smart.
No, I know. But I think for a lot of people that haven't been in this game a while, and it's not like I'm some long-term veteran of this world, but I've been doing it for 6 years now. It's like, you catch those things when you're in this, like you and I are, you catch those things. And I think that's the reason it was important that I pointed it out in real time, because I knew right away. I was like, that's a fucking paid talking point, dude. That's so obvious. I can't believe you just did that. So that's the main reason that I like him the least on that panel, which is kind of a crazy thing to say, given that the other lady tried to fight us. But regardless, I think it's important that people understand there is real money going into this stuff. Clock Tower X, Salem Media Group, Brad Parscale. There are $750 million, nearly $1 billion budget from Israel for propaganda against the American right wing, primarily, I might add.
Yeah.
Because it's a really big deal. Really big deal.
Well, this is why, and we can conclude on this note. This is why I think Massey is so critical for 2028, because
totally agree.
We have, Jen and I have discussed this at length, and it's nothing against the left. It's just the reality is, if you're going to have a revolution in this country, it's going to come from the right, because the right is armed.
Yeah.
The right is armed. It's that simple. The right believes in a violent revolution if it has to be. The right to bear arms is as important as the right to free speech. Now, unfortunately, people on the left do not see it that way. And whether it's because they have a nonviolent disposition, whatever it may be, we have reached the point of no return. It's over now. It's not a question of if things get violent. They are already getting violent. How violent are they going to get before enough people realize? This is why I think it would be imperative, if you want to communicate with Brandon, or if you want to communicate with anybody, I think there needs to be an America First caucus, if you will, that is a combination of populist left and populist right. I think the ideologies need to figure out how to find common ground, which I think we can, especially when it comes to foreign policy, especially when it comes to civil liberties. And yes, I believe we could find it on healthcare, possibly even education as well. I think we should absolutely have tuition.
Your side backs off of gun rights, then maybe my side backs off on single payer healthcare.
Dude, I am 1,000% for the Second Amendment. Like, to me, and I don't know if I've mentioned this to you or not, but I will say this. The biggest difference between us and the UK right now is our Second Amendment. Like, that to me is probably, we support the Second Amendment. Jen even said, yeah.
I meant your side, as in like most people on the Democrats.
But here's what I would say. You know who Shannon Watts is, head of Moms Demand Action? Like, that's not the left. That's the liberal class. That is the comfortable, bougie liberal class. These are not people that work with their hands for a living. You know, remember, you have a substantial portion of the voting demographic over the years, FDR and JFK Democrats in particular, that ended up supporting Reagan. And then you had a whole bunch of, I mean, I don't even necessarily think that it would constitute the same demographic, but that same coalition that went to Reagan in 1980, that's the same working class coalition that went to Bernie Sanders in 2015, 2016, and then ultimately went to Trump in the general, and that changed the entire country.
That's
so
true.
To me, that's that part of the America First movement. It's there. Like we
No,
know
I
it's
agree. I agree, and I think that's why, as you were saying, Massey is so important, is because he can actually absorb that genuine base that is really sincerely America first. And I think he has the appeal broad base that he could get many of those people you're talking about, the Bernie supporters that hopped over to Trump. I think they would just as readily and probably even more happily jump over to someone like Massey. So that's really my only hope in 28 is Massey personally.
If it's between Massey and whoever the Democrats are throwing right now, especially if it's AOC, I'm going with Massey because I know he'll go where AOC will not go. And that to me is all that really matters right now. You could say whatever you want, but if you are not willing to definitively, demonstrably say that the future of the United States of America does not involve Israel in any capacity whatsoever,
yep,
then you're out. Yep. Period.
I think that's fair.
And we need to continue to, if there is the guiding principle can't just be that, but if there is a guiding principle to be a part of the America First movement, that is one of the primary pillars.
Oh, it has to be. It has to be. It has to be a kind of a unifying rally cry or battle cry, even that like we all recognize that we don't have sovereignty, we don't have the ability to actually redress our grievances, and until we deal with that, really all of our other differences of opinion are just that. They don't matter. And just for the record, the reason I describe, Democrats or the left more broadly as being anti-gun is because, one, the Democrats are, but two, I view, and I know your chat is saying that Democrats aren't left. I view the Republicans as left. So, we just have different perspectives on the right-left paradigm.
Well, remember, at the end of the day, it's not red versus blue. It's not conservative versus liberal. It's us versus them. Yeah. We have a ruling class in this country whose interests have zero connection to anything that we want. And they have been able to get away with this for many a generation. But now they're drunk with power in a way that is ultimately going to destroy them. And so it is incumbent upon us to put differences aside and figure out how we coalesce to make it happen. That's
well, I think conversations like this. Anna Kasparian had Dave Smith on a couple days ago. It's like that's obviously the unifying movement that I think that we have a chance at. The problem is that Fuentes has the America First banner wrapped around him, and he hates any sort of competition for the throne. He doesn't want to have
him as far as I could throw him, Clint.
I know it. A lot of people say that. I try not to jump to any conclusions. I don't really know. But I'm just saying in terms of
Tucker and Candace. That's it.
Yep. I think Tucker and Candace are much more like big tent people. Fuentes is a very small tent, it seems to me. So
that's for sure.
Yeah. That's the nicest way I can put it. He's a small tent guy.
That's right. And that's why we can have these conversations. Guys, links are in the description. It's always a pleasure, my friend. It's great to see you. Obviously, like I said, great work again. Keep me posted. Jen posted as well on anything you guys got cooking that we can continue to collaborate on. And let's definitely chat again soon.
Will do. You guys have a good night.
Thanks, brother. And so, as I said, and I definitely agree with Mehdi. Nick is definitely somebody who just wants attention. No two ways about it. And that's just me being nice because I'm not going to get into him. However, there is somebody that I've been wanting to get into for a little while. Now, we know the NBA Finals is going on right now. Perhaps it's the Knicks' time. We'll see. I think it probably is. When I was watching the game the other night, as I do personally, had a hard time finding myself being happy for them because the Knicks have so many shitty fans at the very top in terms of affluence that are full-blown supporters of Israel, led by Jerry Seinfeld. And it's very tough to watch the Madison Square Garden crowd, especially in the lower bowl, that are full-blown Zionists cheering on the Knicks. I don't want them to have that satisfaction. But I also know that there are millions of Knicks fans that are working-class New Yorkers that have been hoping to see a championship at some point in their lifetime. And so I do want to see them win for those fans. Those fans matter. But then you have somebody like Stephen A. Smith, who I have never liked. I really do not understand how people ever found this guy appealing. He's always been a joke. He was never an athlete. He is one of those guys who's always, he's a, I can't think of the right phrase to describe him, but he's always been one of those proverbial insiders that thinks he can make or break a player's career. He really thinks he has the Midas touch. This has always been his modus operandi. And there are people who also are blowing enough smoke up his ass to make him think that he's got political aspirations in his future. That's why he makes statements like this.
Israel. The folks in Israel are great people, great basketball fans. I've been asked to come there on several occasions. One day I'm going to make it my business to get there. But everybody that I've ever met from Israel is wonderful. A bunch of nice.
Everybody you've ever met from Israel is wonderful. Now, how many IDF soldiers does that include in particular, I would wonder? Has he ever watched a video of anything that Israel's been doing over the past 3 years? And I'm only talking the past 3 years. We're not even talking about what's gone on for many generations. But this is the type of statement that could only be made by somebody who clearly has political aspirations on his mind. Why would he make this statement? There's no justification to say this. No one would, again, I'm sure he does. I have no doubt that they love each other. Maybe Stephen A. has some skeletons in his closet that he doesn't want to have come out. Maybe we need to look into him. What has he got going on? He's not married. He's like 60 years old. He claims to have a whole bunch of girlfriends. And yet I've never heard one of them publicly, ever. And in reality, I don't care about any of that shit. But I care about this statement. This statement's really messed up.
Kind people go through a lot, obviously, and we understand that. But I want you to know, people in America got love for y'all.
No, we don't. And who the hell is he to think that he's going to speak on behalf of our country? That's the other perplexing thing. Stephen A. Smith is paid, I believe, in excess of over $10 million a year to pontificate on sports. And there are people who honestly think that his opinion matters. And he's a Knick fan, and he's hoping to celebrate tonight. And I have no doubt that he's prancing around the sidelines in San Antonio right now, thinking it's his moment. And maybe it is. But if you ever had any doubt that he's a bad guy, now the doubt has completely been removed. As I said, I've never liked his shtick, his I'm a bad brother shtick. I don't buy into that. And now, excuse my English, but he's cooning for Israel? For the love of Christ. I mean, this should be career-ending shit. And who in the fuck would prompt him to even talk about such an issue? Why does the opinion of Stephen A. Smith and the issue of Israel even matter, especially right now? Why in this moment would you need Stephen A. Smith's opinion about Israel? And why would it be so demonstrative on his part in the way he explained his love for Israel? What's that shit about? And of course, he's naturally not going to say anything about Palestine. Why would he? He couldn't possibly. And so when we talk about this type of, when you talk about real Uncle Tom behavior on behalf of the corporate establishment that hates your guts but loves it, if you will, convince other people in the black community that Israel's pretty swell and they're really great. Well, maybe Stephen A. Smith is auditioning for Leo Terrell's position.
Free speech, First Amendment free speech does not allow individuals on the local level, federal level, to incite and to encourage crimes or to encourage victims to be basically deny their personal rights. Let me be very clear. What is happening is free speech is being used to allow Jewish communities to be attacked. And what happens? Todd, these individuals get arrested and they're released. I would ask anyone watching this program, where are the hate crime charges being filed by Alvin Bragg in New York, or in Chicago, or in Los Angeles, or in Detroit? You know where the hate crime charges are being filed? By the Department of Justice on the federal level. What I'm trying to do in this 15-city tour is to make sure that citizens in these cities who are not getting help at the local level, they have alternatives from the federal government, and to make sure they know what their rights are. It's not only the failure to prosecute hate crimes, Todd, but it's a indoctrination of these teachers unions to brainwash our K-12 kids to believe in anti-Semitism.
Yeah, that's some serious cooning level right there, I have to say. And this is what you get paid to do. And this is oftentimes what ends up happening in Black communities across the country. People that are supposed to be leading them, guiding them to a more positive future, end up getting led by people like this. And so when Stephen A. Smith has aspirations of some type of political grandeur, you know, look, he'll fail spectacularly if he ends up. People have suggested that he's going to run for president. I want to see it happen. I would like to see it happen. I'd like to see him make a complete fool of himself. And hopefully he will. But we're in a very interesting place right now. To even think that there are those who are still on the side of Israel at this point, or that they're singing Israel's praises. I'm sure that they do, Dr. MK Ultra. Like, is there anybody who really thinks that such a proud apartheid nation doesn't want everybody not to be Eastern European? I mean, that's the whole thing about the Ashkenazi movement. This is why it's such a serious problem. This is why you can never doubt what their intentions are. And so for Stephen A. to be so illiterate about this issue, to presume nothing short of an absolute ignorant fool when it comes to the issue of Israel, I got nothing but love for the Israel people. They're my people. I love them. Do you love this, Stephen A.?
Of the Gaza Strip. We can't just take a whole strip of land and say Israelis can't live there. That doesn't make sense. This is our sovereign state.
Would you live there?
Of course.
By the beach?
Oh, for sure. Yes, my husband's also talking about building. He has a yeshiva, a Talmudic institute here, so building a branch in Gaza. We have lists already of about 500 families that are willing, on the drop of a hat, to just move into, we have North, Central, and South Gaza, and people are going to start building towns. We have names of the towns, we have where we're building them. It's already being planned, and we have people signed up.
Can you believe how excited she is that they completely devastated all of Gaza, and now they're going to buy up the land? You know, the land sales that take place in New York and Los Angeles? Yeah, you know, we bought that land. And now we're going to come in here and we're going to totally build it up. And it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be gorgeous. Aren't you excited? Let me tell you something. That hat, that's a nice touch because she's probably allergic to the sun. But here I am thinking, aren't you native to this land? I mean, that's what you've been trying to convince people of for the longest time. So what's the deal here? This is our land. Really? You mean it's the land that you've stolen? The land that you've conquered? That's what you mean. I don't want to say what I really think of this Zion Nazi, but I think you all kind of get an idea of where my head's at.
You can't leave it without Jews in the Gaza Strip. It's too big a piece of land. It's too important for us to let it become Hamas town, as we call it, full of terrorists.
That is the face of evil. That is somebody who identifies as an Israeli, and that is somebody that Stephen A. thinks is a swell person. It's not my birthday. I don't know why that just happened. Amazing. Get the balloons to show up. Yeah, again. But that is a big part of the problem. And that's why this ideology is a death cult. And as I said, whether or not the New York Knicks win the NBA title tonight, we can have no doubt about how evil and despicable the Zionist entity truly is. We can never lose sight of how bad this is. Because on the one hand, you're only hearing remnants from a Zionist scumbag who has no humanity whatsoever. And then you look at what ends up happening as a result of their detestable, violent, inhumane rhetoric and how that plays out. How the Israelis, Stephen A., conduct business on a regular basis. This just happened a few days ago.
من سبعتي اللهم صل.
Mohammed was shot and killed by Israeli forces. Colin, keep in mind, timestamp this in case any issue comes up with the audio. Why would you feel the need to fire live ammunition at a fishing boat? You know, kind of like with the infant in the car. What exactly is the threat here? But no one ever talks about this. This, again, is why it must be documented. The people who just sit idly by and say nothing, who think that this is acceptable discourse, that a 15-year-old fisherman was targeted for assassination because he was so damn threatening, let me tell you. It is heartbreaking, angering, and yet we do not get angry enough at the people in our country that we have control over that are in support of this bullshit. Stephen A. Smith was a coon 25 years ago. He's still one now. He has never changed, and he's not going to change because he's always been about the money. And he has thrown so many people under the bus forever and a day. Well, you know what? I am going to call him, and listen, I would call him the N-word to his face because that's what he is. He is no different than anybody else who ever threw his own people under the bus. And the fact that he is on board with this shit, the fact that he could even make such a fucking ignorant coon statement to the effect that I support the state of Israel. And you know what's amazing? I'm not convinced that he doesn't know that this shit's going on. I'm not convinced that he doesn't. I think he does know. And I think his career is much more important than innocent children's lives. That's what I believe. I don't think he's a dummy. And the reason I say this is because he has a political podcast. He does this on a regular basis. He's not some fly-by-night commentator who doesn't know anything about politics. He does a show on it. It's not a show that I watch or that I have any interest in, but this is what he does. Who are you trying to impress, Stephen A? Do you weep for this innocent child that was shot dead a few days ago? Probably not. Why would you? He can't advance your career, but Commissioner Adam Silver can, and maybe some of the big-time Knicks, Zio scum, maybe they can. Who knows? Sometimes in life, people deserve what they get. It's not a universal term, and that goes for any term. But sometimes people just absolutely deserve to be at the bottom of the barrel. Period. And that goes for everybody. If you are on board with the worst form of anything related to humanity, and you're okay with it, you get what you have coming. Which is also why I have been very clear time and again when it comes to people in the Jewish community who end up catching shit as they are now because they've been stone silent about the genocide. I don't have sympathy for you. Like Jen said, you had 3 weeks after October 7th to get this right. You didn't get it right? You're going to get what you have coming. And that's it. I have lost an incredible amount of money. I have lost relationships. I've lost a lot to speak up. And I'm not saying everybody has to do it the same way. But to say the things that Stephen A. said, 1,000% needs to be called out for it. Fair enough, Jennifer. See that? At least 238 fishermen have been killed. What that tells me is, and what that should tell everybody else, is that they hunt fishermen for sport. There's no other reason. The reason they gun them down, like a lot of things that the Zionist entity does, they kill for fun. Let's shoot that fisherman. Why? Just for the fun of it. That's how you know there's no humanity. It doesn't exist. Over, done, goodbye. And that's it. It pains me to ever have to acknowledge this nonsense. And yet, basketball was my favorite sports when I played. I still love the game, but I hate what it's become. And I hate that Stephen A. Smith is considered a prominent voice within that community. He shouldn't be. And it is sad, and it's painful. And like I said, our channel has paid dearly for telling the truth. They bury us in a corner like they've done all night. This is the worst Saturday we've ever had since I've started doing it on Saturday. There is nothing close to this. This is like trying to pretend like we don't exist. And yet, I'm not going to stop saying what needs to be said. Because somebody's got to do it. So might as well be us. This is the right thing to do. And I'm sure he did. Stephen A. projects a lot. He projects. And he talks in a way that is extremely condescending. Yeah, we're at 100. We're almost at 128,000 subscribers. We haven't gotten a plaque. Keaton and Russell got a plaque. I know they did. We didn't get anything, and we're not going to. I just don't think we will. That's okay. Clearly, they think what we have to say is threatening. Well, if you think that that's threatening, if you think that what we're talking about here is bad, well, don't worry, Google algorithm on YouTube. Here's another doozy for all of you guys. Israeli firm Blackcore suspected of meddling in New York and Scotland votes, France says. Vignium flags, Viginium, I guess is how you say it, flags allege Blackcore operations in Angola, Togo, New York, and Scotland. French Prime Minister says France asked Israel to help identifying who commissioned Blackcore. Blackcore described itself as an influence and cyber firm, but has not responded to requests for comment. Of course not. Israeli firm Blackcore, suspected of interfering in France's local elections in March, is also suspected of meddling in elections in New York City and Scotland, and operating in Angola and Togo. France's disinfo detection service, Viginium, said on Thursday. Last month, Reuters reported that French authorities suspected Blackcore was behind an online smear campaign targeting 3 mayoral candidates for the hard-left, pro-Palestine France Unbowed Party, LFI, in the local elections. At a press conference on Thursday alongside French Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu, Viginium chief Marc-Antoine Brilliant said technical work had led the service to Blackcore. Viginium subsequently presented a detailed report on Blackore's alleged actions across the world. This modus operandi was not limited to municipal elections. It also appears to have been used to carry out foreign digital interference operations in other countries or regions such as Angola, Togo, the elections in Scotland, and the 2025 municipal election in New York. However, he added, it was still unclear who had commissioned Blackcore to meddle in France. Our investigations did not make it possible to identify the sponsor or sponsors, if indeed they exist behind this foreign digital interference. Lecornu said that the French government had asked Israel for explanations of Blackcore's actions and also for help in trying to find out who may have been behind the smear campaign. I do not doubt for a single instant that if a French private group from French soil, moreover, had engaged in foreign digital interference in Israel, they would have done the same to its ambassador on site. Israel's embassy in Paris confirmed that France had reached out, saying it was waiting to receive details from the French probe to conduct its own. Israel has, of course, no intention to interfere in the French political process, be it at the national or municipal level. Is that it? Yep. Brilliant did not explicitly mention who was targeted in last year's New York City election, which was won by Zoran Mamdani. His victory thrilled many young Jewish progressives, but spooked more traditional pro-Israel New Yorkers with his outspoken support for the Palestinian cause. Mamdani's team did not immediately respond for requests for comment, neither did New York City and New York State officials. Probably not, because there's probably many layers to this. The NYPD and the U.S. Cyber Defense Agency, CISA, did not immediately return comments either. In a subsequent report, Viginium said that the detected Blackcore-linked accounts targeting John Swinney, the First Minister of Scotland. Swinney has described the situation in Gaza as a man-made humanitarian catastrophe, saying a genocide may be unfolding, citing civilian casualties, widespread destruction, and statements by Israeli officials. These reports of bad actors attempting to interfere in the Scottish Parliament elections are deeply concerning. We agree. He called on the British government, which has responsibility for national security, to make dealing with hostile online interference a far higher priority. Ross Kushner, the SNP's head of digital, told Reuters that during the May elections, the party's social media platforms were subject to an unprecedented level of negative reactions and comments from accounts which appeared to be AI-generated bots. Israel is known for that. An email seeking comment from Scottish election officials was not immediately returned. The government of Angola and Togo also did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Before scrubbing its online presence following inquiries from Reuters, Blackcore described itself as an elite influence cyber and technology company built for the modern era of information warfare. I don't know what 6 out of 10 means. It said it provided governments and political campaigns with cutting-edge strategies, advancement tools, and robust security to shape narratives. It has not responded to repeated requests for comment. Oh, okay. Well, thanks, I guess. So here is the French clip. Watch the subtitles.
On en vient à l'œil du 20h. On vous a beaucoup parlé des tentatives d'ingérence russe dans les campagnes électorales, ici en France ou en Allemagne. Mais les Russes ne sont peut-être pas les seuls. Le parquet de Paris a ouvert une enquête pour faire la lumière sur une éventuelle ingérence d'une entreprise israélienne qui aurait visé plusieurs candidats insoumis aux dernières municipales. De quoi parle-t-on? Julien Cholin, Arnaud Miguet, Valentin Stocker et Chloé Duval ont enquêté.
Une femme voilée appelant à voter LFI quelques heures avant le scrutin.
Now, as you can see, as these ads will show, the whole idea, at least from my perspective, is that this is basically supposed to be an anti-Muslim smear campaign. That's what this would appear to be on the surface. So I'm guessing that what they were doing was flooding the zone, as the saying goes, with a lot of anti-Muslim ads directed at the supposed support for them by these pro-Palestinian candidates. That's what on the surface it looks like.
Quelques heures avant le scrutin, un blog accusant Sébastien Delogu d'agression sexuelle. Des messages compromettants attribués à David Guiraud à Roubaix. 3 candidats LFI aux élections municipales ciblent de fausses informations propagées sur Internet. Derrière certaines d'entre elles, la piste d'une ingérence étrangère. L'enquête des services français mène en Israël et dévoile un nouveau mode opératoire pour tenter de manipuler des élections en France. Début mars à Marseille, alors que le visage de Sébastien Delogu s'affiche sur les murs de la ville, des QR codes font aussi leur apparition. Ils renvoient au blog d'une certaine Sophie, présentée comme victime sexuelle du candidat insoumis.
Il ne demandait pas, il ne négociait pas, il prenait.
Écrit-elle. De fausses informations selon les services français, qui alertent aussi David Guiraud à Roubaix. Des captures d'écran attribuées aux candidats sont apparues sur Internet, comme celle-ci, où il semble commander une quantité de drogue. Une tentative de salir sa réputation, estiment les agents français. Dès le mois de mars, les services sont formels. Des ingérences numériques étrangères sont en cours à Marseille, Toulouse et Roubaix. Une campagne malveillante, écrivent-ils, cherchant à altérer l'information des citoyens. 3 candidats identifiés comme des défenseurs de la cause palestinienne. Très vite, les enquêteurs remontent jusqu'à une entreprise spécialisée dans ce genre d'opération.
Donc une société privée basée en Israël et qui est spécialisée dans la vente de prestations, d'opérations de déstabilisation. Ce prestataire, il a mis en place un réseau de plusieurs noms de domaine et de comptes sur les réseaux sociaux. Et il a visé à en particulier cibler le parti LFI ainsi que plusieurs de ses candidats.
Alors, que sait-on de cette entreprise? Les enquêteurs identifient d'abord une entité nommée Blackcore, conçue pour l'ère moderne de la guerre de l'information, précise son site internet. Elle se vante de disposer de 1600 faux comptes sur Facebook, TikTok ou Instagram pour mener à bien ses opérations de déstabilisation.
So as you can see, one of the primary drivers to the relationship between the US and Israel is espionage, counterterrorism, counterintelligence, and when it comes to things like social media, creating thousands of bot accounts to attack anyone who is either in support of the Palestinian cause or an anti-Israel cause. And when you have billions upon billions of dollars that you can devote to this cause, there's a hell of a lot of people with their hands out that are going to be willing to take the money and get paid. And so this story doesn't surprise me in the least. So when we think about what real election interference looks like, here it is in real time.
Comme l'ont révélé nos confrères de Libération et du journal israélien Haaretz, Blackcore utilisait les ressources de deux autres sociétés israéliennes, SNI et Galacticos. Nous avons tenté de rencontrer le représentant légal de l'une d'entre elles à son siège social de Tel Aviv. Sur place, aucune trace de l'entreprise. L'adresse est celle d'un cabinet d'avocats.
Celui que vous cherchez n'est pas là. Il est parti en vacances.
Mais Galacticos, c'est bien ici?
Oui, mais moi, je ne peux pas vous répondre là, maintenant, ou faire une interview.
Contacté, l'homme n'a pas donné suite, mais il a publiquement nié avoir été informé de l'opération. Pour ce journaliste israélien qui a enquêté sur l'affaire, difficile d'identifier les véritables commanditaires. Est-ce que le gouvernement israélien pourrait être à l'origine de cette campagne?
C'est très compliqué de répondre à cette question parce que Israël a déjà été pris en flagrant délit de désinformation, mais jamais en période électorale. Et puis oui, ces entreprises, elles sont remplies de gens qui ont eu une expérience dans l'armée israélienne ou les services de renseignement. Mais ça ne signifie pas pour autant qu'ils travaillent pour le gouvernement.
Même si les autorités françaises estiment que l'opération n'a eu qu'un faible impact sur le scrutin, une enquête judiciaire a bien été ouverte et un rapport des services devrait être publié dans les prochains jours. Rapport très attendu par LFI, qui espère s'en servir pour faire annuler l'élection à Toulouse.
We'll see if they have any success with overturning any of those elections. But again, this should not come again as any surprise to anybody. So when we constantly hear the Russians interfered in an election or who knows what, the Israelis, this is what they do. We do it too, for sure. But you're going to see a lot more of this. They are going to empty the entire chamber and then some to protect what they have fortified in terms of their positions for as long as they have. Counterintelligence, espionage. This is the name of the game. And it will get worse because their ideology is on borrowed time. So kudos to France for calling this out. Are we prepared to do the same here in the States? Are we prepared to dig in a little deeper? It's obvious that they attempted to do what they did against Zoran. Who knows how many others are out there that have experienced a similar fate, that have experienced legitimate election interference, and nothing's being done about it. It happened to Butch Ware in California. Who knows to how many other people it's going to happen to? But as we've said, things will get worse before they get better. So speak up now before it's too late. And if we're going to be speaking up, I assume that some of you have heard about this ridiculous story also across the pond, this one in the UK, regarding Elgin Systems. Palestine Action is a group that has been doing extraordinary work for a very long time. And we would be amiss not to talk about how serious a problem this has become and what they will do to people like these children. Well, young adults, let's be honest. A British judge has ruled that Palestine Action activists will be sentenced as terrorists after raiding weapons manufacturer. And Elgin Systems is that weapons manufacturer. So again, a lot of people heard about what's happened to these young individuals. But does anybody know the full story behind why a British judge would do this to these people, charge them as terrorists? Well, it turns out that there is a very interesting story behind this. And I believe this is low-key. I think he is the person who did this clip. Colin, I don't know which one this is because I can't judge. So you got to tell me which one. Albeit systems in Israel. Yes, that's correct.
Should be the Palestine protest one.
Okay, here we go.
This is the story of how Israel was able to get a protest group based in another country prescribed as a terrorist organization. The British state is acting at the behest of a foreign power. Let that sink in. When Yvette Cooper called for the prescription of Palestine action, she almost verbatim was recreating what was written by We Believe in Israel. We Believe in Israel is led by alleged Israeli spy Catherine Shakdam. Catherine traveled to Iran under the guise of an anti-imperialist, pro-resistance journalist.
I guess they didn't do their due diligence properly. They didn't know I was Jewish, so I was let in.
She was employed by several different news platforms where she published work which was supportive of the resistance axis against Zionism.
When this land is occupied, then they have the right and obligation to resist. And armed resistance has become a birthright when it comes to Palestine because there is nothing else that they could do, should do.
She traveled to Iran and met with several high-ranking officials, including the soon-to-be, but now deceased, President Ibrahim Raisi.
I've met with now deceased President Raisi. I've walked through the corridors of powers. I've met with Ayatollah Khamenei.
Prior to doing that and becoming this pro-resistance journalist, she was employed by Israeli intelligence agency Wikistrat. The co-founder of Wikistrat and CEO is Elad Shaffer, who was head of an intelligence desk at an Israeli government agency. The other co-founder of Wikistrat is Joel Zamil, who founded the Psi Group organization, which the New Yorker described as a private Mossad. After becoming an anti-imperialist journalist and, as she called it, infiltrating Iran.
It took me a long time. It didn't happen in just a year. It took me many, many, many years of hard work to try to get as close as I could. And I got pretty close. And I was very careful never to ask too many questions. So it was just more the case of observing and trying to gather information.
She came back to the UK and somehow began work for Israel lobby groups like the Henry Jackson Society and now We Believe in Israel, where she currently leads the campaign to prescribe Palestine action as a terrorist organization.
Were you a spy?
No, I've had that asked to me like so many times. I think that this accusation to work with Israel is tainted with anti-Semitism.
In addition to that, We Believe in Israel has even boasted about being given access to classified police information from a counter-terror investigation into Palestine action in 2022. Why would a lobby group for a foreign power not only be so deeply involved in the security state of this country, but why would it have access to classified documents? We Believe in Israel came out of BICOM, Israel's largest lobby group in Britain, which is currently led by Richard Pater, a reserve in the Israeli military who previously was employed by the Israeli Prime Minister's office. We Believe in Israel campaigned to remove my music from Spotify. At the time, it was led by Luke Akehurst, now serving as a Labour MP. Here is Israeli political officer from the embassy discussing Luke Akehurst and We Believe in Israel.
So Luke Akehurst is the director of We Believe in Israel. He's a great guy. He's one of the best in the inside.
Why are we allowing a foreign lobby group led by an alleged spy to dictate what is and isn't acceptable protest?
The reason being is because in the UK, much as we are seeing here in the States, your elected officials in the House of Parliament, British Commons, they're as bought off as the American politicians on Capitol Hill are. They are doing the work of the Zionist cause because money makes the world go round. And this has worked quite well, even though it would appear that the Brits are not on board with this. Obviously, the Scots and the Irish are not. So what's taken the Brits so long to rebel against their government? They should. I can't imagine any of our British friends here would say that this is something that the average UK member would be subscribing to and saying, yeah, this is exactly what our country needs right now. Palestine Action has done amazing work. And the idea that they are being threatened, harassed, debanked, doxxed, you name it, it's all going down by this latest example of the NGOs within the Israel lobby. This is why we constantly talk about the need to not get so caught up in the idea that AIPAC is the end-all be-all of the problem. It's not. We Believe in Israel is another example of AIPAC. They don't get anywhere near the attention, but they're doing the exact same work. And they're doing it across the pond. This is a big deal. And this story is not getting anywhere near enough attention. But they are doing what they're doing. And so when you think about the impact that a group like Palestine Action has had, and they're now spending untold amounts of money to get them shut down, first, it also proves that we're winning, but it also proves how far they're willing to go to maintain their world order. And they are going to go pretty far in order to maintain it. So buckle up, but there's more to go.
In this country. What about the other lobbying? Footage has recently emerged of Board of Deputies officials admitting that they have lobbied the Home Office on the issue of Palestine Action.
We had a meeting with Dan Jarvis, the Security Minister, this week. The whole conversation was around, first of all, how they have stepped up already in terms of something that is not quite the same as prescription, and we're trying to understand exactly what that means. And they're looking at more organisations to which that could apply. In addition to that, he said they are looking to take further action on Palestine Action, and he hasn't described what that would be, but that's in the pipeline.
Of course, the Board of Deputies admitted in its own internal documents, its trustees report, that it has a close working relationship with the Israeli embassy and strengthened links to the Ministry of Strategic Affairs and the IDF spokesman's unit. Another key figure in the drive to label Palestine Action as a terrorist organisation is none other than Jonathan Woodcock, now known as Lord Wolney. While serving as a...
Well, you can certainly understand with a name like Woodcock, his life has not exactly been peachy in the UK. So he exacts revenge on innocent Palestinians. Shock.
Labour MP, Woodcock was accused of sexual harassment. He resigned from the Labour Party. He was seemingly later rewarded with a seat in the House of Lords.
So help me God.
Following the appointment of Lord Wolney as the government's independent protest advisor, he suggested the prescription of Palestine Action as a terrorist organisation. Woodcock was previously chair of the Labour Friends of Israel lobby group. Woodcock has accepted funding and...
Well, he looks more like he looks much more like a limp dick than a woodcock. That's implying that he has a stiff member. But I have no doubt that low-key is getting a kick out of using his name over and over again. I just wanted to point that out.
Hospitality from the European Leadership Network. The European Leadership Network is included on a list of organizations controlled directly by the Israeli Ministry of Diaspora Affairs and was revealed to be one of the organizations involved in the Voices of Israel project, ran directly by the Israeli government.
So impressed with what Elnet is doing, bringing people together from across the European continent.
In addition to that, Wolney chaired the Purpose Defence Coalition.
The Defence Coalition is made up of the UK's most innovative leaders and businesses in the defence sector.
A lobby group which included the arms company Leonardo, one of the targets of Palestine Action.
John, can I just ask you whether you're the right person to be advancing these arguments, given that you're a former chair of Labour Friends of Israel. And Palestine Action, they say you're the current chair of the Defence Purpose Coalition, and you're getting funding from the Israel lobby.
I think when any organisation starts talking about an Israel lobby, they need to look at their own slide into anti-Semitism.
But as a perception.
Is he nuts? Or maybe he's just Pinocchio. He's wood all around.
John, I mean, you are the former chair of Labour Friends of Israel. Do you not see that, how this is going to come across?
Come on. Now, with a face like that, you have to understand that Mr. Softcock, this is the face of a person much like the federally elected representatives that we highlighted the other day with Julian Andreoni. Me? You're questioning me? How dare you? I'm above reproach. You're bloody out of line. All right, so I worked for some Israel lobby organization. But it's for the crown. Don't you understand? The crown comes first. And the UK and the crown are with Israel as one entity. No, it's not. I would imagine that most Western governments, the people are facing the same problem in many places. We have highlighted the issues with the Zionist cause in Toronto, but I would imagine that most Canadians are not on board, even though it clearly is a problem in places like Toronto, probably Ottawa, and obviously Vancouver. But I would say overall, the Canadians probably feel the same way that the Americans and the Brits do outside of the elected ruling class. They're not on board with this. So that level of desperation that they feel they have to take now in order to silence people, this is one of many steps that will be taken to maintain their order. That is the way this goes. Palestine Action is one of potentially many casualties that will come of this. But I'd like to think that there's got to be some people within the Zionist movement who are conscientious enough of the realities of what's going on, that they truly are on borrowed time, and there is very little that they can do to prevent the inevitable, which is a complete collapse of their ideology via the control over these governments, particularly ours, as well as the UK, perhaps Canada, even Germany. And there's probably a few others that I'm not even referencing at the moment. But credit to Low-Key, he did a great job. And we support Palestine Action. And this is another firm reminder of why this is not about AIPAC. This is about the Israel lobby. AIPAC is one of several. And that is why these young individuals are being treated like terrorists for what they did. This is what Israel and its cause is demanding. Even if the average citizen of London and many surrounding areas would say, this is poppycock. See? It's good use of British lingo there. Not woodcock, poppycock. We wish them well. And I hope whatever their legal actions that they are able to take will be employed. And we have to do everything we can with our small but mighty platform to ensure that they do not fall victim, as so many others will, standing up to the Zionist entity. And so the history of the Zionist cause goes back a long way. And the sleight of hand, well, that's why I'm here to say it for you, Travers. And we're glad that you're here, obviously, as long as I'll let you be. The history, yeah, I have no doubt. I'm sure that what's going on in the UK is far more serious than people want to talk about, because it's scary. And I don't know the full extent as to why Tommy Robinson was arrested. I can't get into it tonight, but I will keep my eye on that. I also have a story that I have specifically saved regarding Candace Owens for Jen on Monday. It's very relevant. They are not going to stop. And that is why, yeah, maybe. Could be right. Colin, can you explain what this car prices thing is? Because that doesn't look familiar to me.
It was like the second link you sent me, a YouTube video about it was a link about like China versus America and like car pricing and stuff.
Are you sure about that? Because that don't look anything familiar to me.
It might have been a mistaken link you sent me then.
Okay. All right. So 86. Now I have just shown you guys exactly what goes on here in this country, or excuse me, what's going on in the UK. Now I want to show you just how serious this issue is in the States. Now, I do believe that, and I've said this before, I said it obviously to Clint earlier, Jen and I say it often. Perhaps the biggest difference between the citizenry of the UK versus the US is that we're dealing with similar types of censorship, but the US is armed in a way that the UK could never be. And I think that plays a role. Here's somebody posing as an FBI agent.
Hi. How you doing? Just to let you know that if you lie to an FBI agent, you get charged with that.
Yeah, but you're not an FBI agent. So you need to be brought to justice as soon as humanly possible.
I know you are. Let's see.
Let's see.
Craig Britton, correct?
What's this about?
Okay. Comments that you post online.
Which comments?
I'll discuss it after you stop recording.
I'm not going to stop recording.
Okay. Then we'll come back another day and talk to you. Okay?
You should not come back. You don't have a warrant.
No, I don't.
You have no probable cause to do this.
No,
you're haranguing and harassing me. What is your name, sir?
You gave my name already. I told you who I was.
Please repeat your name.
I told you once
Please.
before.
Why are you evading? Why are you going to run away from my property? What are you doing?
Have a good day.
Do I not have the right to know what your name is after you've harangued me, man?
Now, I don't know if anybody understands this. No, it is a new case, Mehdi, and I am not going to take any shit from anybody in the chat tonight about how new this is. Impersonating a federal agent is a serious crime. In fact, I believe that impersonating a federal agent is grounds for at least a 10-year sentence. Like, that's how serious that type of a crime is. You're impersonating the FBI. You say you're in the FBI. If this person was in the Bureau and was coming to your home, they have to show identification. If a person asks you, if you're a federal agent, and they say, could I please see your identification, sir? They are legally bound to show you. They would also have marks on their car indicating that this is a federal use only automobile. But as you're going to see, that is not the case with this car. Or should I say cars?
Ma'am, what is your name? Sir, what is your name? Ma'am, what is your name? Please don't come back from my property. I will not have a good day because my tax dollars are being spent on this. Do you guys not have a life? Is this what you do? You have to harangue people for posting online? You have nothing. You have nothing. Get out. Get real jobs. You could do.
For some reason, I thought the penalty was much stiffer, but again, it's probably circumstance. That's probably a minimum. The minimum for impersonating a federal agent is 3 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. That's the minimum. But in the case of these Zion-Nazis, what penalty is there going to be? They don't get prosecuted for anything. They never get a slap on the wrist. They never get reprimanded. So why would they not do this? In fact, there's probably enough Zion-Nazis that are going to see this. They're going to think, you know, I've been really thinking about what are some new and innovative ways that we can threaten the populace with talking negatively against the state of Israel. I got an idea. Let's do this. It's not like we'll get in trouble for it.
Better than this.
There is only one of two ways that this goes, and only one of two. Either they are lying and breaking federal law, and it's on camera, or they are federal agents, and they should be in deep shit for doing this. So which one is it? If I'm Mr. Britain, I'm getting to the bottom of this immediately. I am lawyering up and I am finding out. I had officers at my house and they absolutely had to identify themselves. These guys refusing to identify themselves leads me to believe that they're lying, that they're clearly not agents. They're pretending to be, and that's pretty serious business. But again, Zionists are not used to following any laws. They're used to getting away with murder. I'm surprised they showed up in daylight hours. Maybe because they suspect that he might actually be a supporter of the Second Amendment. He had every right to say what he needed to say. Oh, don't worry. Dan Bongino, we haven't even really addressed him, but Dan Bongino apparently just interviewed Ed Galreen. Not kidding. Know who's on the take. Thank you, David. Yeah, these people need to be in, I mean, honest to God. This is the type of dystopian nightmare shit. You know, you've heard of citizen's arrest, but this is on a whole other level now. And I have no doubt that this is probably something that's happening far more often than we could even begin to fathom. This just happened to be caught on camera. Think about how many other times this has happened where it wasn't. So I would I would be buckling up right now. And again, I would also say that I wouldn't feel as if the noticing isn't happening, that there isn't a lot of people that see what's going on here and are not prepared to stand up and fight as needed. This is exactly why you have truth tellers like this young lady who understand exactly what the Israel cause is up to. And it's not going to last because so much of it is not just class-based, but it is kind of age-based as well. The older you get, the worse it gets. The younger you get, the better it gets.
This 17-year-old teenager from Clayton, North Carolina says her welcome speech to graduates was cut off by a school administrator after she made these remarks.
I have one last thing to say. Every single person here has a voice, and we are privileged to have the freedom to use it when so many people around the world are struggling and suffering to be heard. Whether it's the millions suffering in Palestine, Sudan, Congo, Afghanistan, and so many other countries around the world, these are the families being torn apart by ICE. These are not distant issues. They are happening right now as I speak.
She came up to me and she's like, if you don't stop speaking right now, you're not graduating.
That's what Leen Hijaz says the administrator said to her in this moment when she cut off Hijaz's speech. And because of those remarks, unlike the rest of her fellow graduates who picked up their diplomas after the ceremony, Hijaz says she was told,
"You're getting your diploma withheld."
A Johnston County Public Schools spokesperson tells CNN that Hijaz was, quote, awarded her diploma and that her speech was cut off because, quote, school administrators intervened in order to maintain the integrity and focus of the program in real time. This
The reason why the speech was cut off was because she mentioned Palestine. That's why. They can claim whatever they want, but we've seen enough high school graduations, we've seen enough speeches where we know that it can get political, and no one gets cut off. But this is the hot button issue of our time, and they know that they have completely, you want to talk about two generations that they've completely lost. Gen Z and millennials, they've lost them completely. All because she spoke the truth. That's considered a crime. That's a thought crime. You're not allowed to do that. Much like of posing as a federal agent, you said this stuff online, right? You're not allowed to say that. And now you're not allowed to say it at your graduation. We're going to withhold your diploma. This is yet another example of what they will do to shut you up. Don't let them.
action was not about limiting a student's voice, but about ensuring that a school-sponsored event remained consistent with its intended purpose. JCPS respects students' rights to express their views and encourages thoughtful dialogue in appropriate settings. The district also said the content of graduation speeches is approved by staff ahead of the event. Hijaz says she did not submit her unscripted remarks for approval and that she received her diploma 4 days after graduation. Hijaz says her family and friends have supported her throughout because
my sole purpose of saying everything was to advocate for people.
And we agree. And her advocacy is great. And I want to end this evening with a friendly clip of exactly what is supposed to happen to any of these Eyal bastards when they get just a little too frisky with their mouth and perhaps even their hands. If you guys have been paying attention to Palestinian News Network, I don't know the guy personally, but he's been doing the Lord's work on Capitol Hill. He goes to a lot of different places throughout the Northeast, I believe. But here he is in a nice little confrontation with a couple of Eyal bastards.
Can you say that with your chest, little boy? What'd you say?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Life to Israel. Long live Israel.
Shut up, boy.
Fuck you.
Fuck you, pussy. Fuck you, bitch. Fuck you, little fat bitch. Shut up, bitch. Why are you walking away, bitch? Do something, bitch. Do something, bitch. Do something, bitch. Do something, you fat loser.
I would.
What am I doing? I'm doing this. What are you doing, bro? Let's go. What you want to do, bro?
I'm gonna take your phone.
Touch it, bro. I dare you. Touch it.
Okay, and then what?
Touch it. Touch
Get
it,
the
bro.
fuck out of here.
Touch it, bro.
Not gonna touch you.
You just touch me, bro. You push me.
You know, the funny thing about these guys, and what's always interesting, is that they're in a group. They're all so very tough when they're in a group, but when they're alone, when they're, one-on-one, they're not so tough. So they're feeling their strength right now. They think that they've got this under control. And it turns out they really don't.
Bro, you push me, bro.
Out of here. Go.
Pussy ass bitch.
Go get a
fuck
fucking job. You're broke. Get the fuck out of here.
Woo.
Bye.
Okay, so making the statement, you're broke. This is so typical. And I mean, when you think about it, as typical as it gets with these bastards. Everything is predicated on money and power within the Zionist ideology. Everything. You don't have the money and the power that we do. We're Zionists. We're untouchable. We could do whatever the fuck we want. And that's how they see it. That is truly how they see it. No qualms whatsoever. Well, things got a little more frisky.
Bye.
Homie then got punched in the face and scurried off, but unfortunately, the camera turned off. A firm grip was kept on the camera. I filmed for another 30 seconds, but didn't realize it cut off. Now, I'm not here to try to tell people that violence is the answer, but in the case of the Zio-Nazis, it may be the only answer because they don't understand anything else. It is time to stop being nice about this problem. It's just time. It's like I said with Clint when it came to dealing with Eyal Yakoby. There is no point in being nice. There is no point in defending any of this or saying that we can find a solution. We can't. There is no common ground here. So what we have to do as Americans is figure out how to coalesce together and put an end to the Zio control over our country. That is our job. That is our responsibility. And whatever that looks like, so let it be. But we cannot allow them to control our country anymore. That has to end. Otherwise, see what's going on in the UK. See what's going on with people showing up to your front door pretending to be federal agents. You think this won't get worse? Of course it will. And the problem is that when the Zionist cause has the power of the purse, think about how many people they could buy off. How many people will just turn to the other side? They get desperate enough and they know that they'll get paid if they just go along to get along. Just play along. You'll be fine. That's why Palestinian News Network is doing amazing work. Hats off. You kick ass in more ways than one. And you guys, despite us being a insanely drawn out and suppressed stream this evening, I cannot thank you guys enough because the chat has been lively. I hope you guys are all having a great time. And we obviously have to give a big shout out to our supporters. And if you would be so kind, go to patreon.com/revolutionary change for as little as $5 a month. You can become a supporter of our small but mighty, despite heavily suppressed yet still growing channel. And so let's give a big shout out to our super chatters for this evening. Let's start with Pirate Justin with the $2. Shabbat Shalom from Houston, Texas. Daddy's home. Robin DeHood, thank you so much for the 99-cent super sticker. Libertarian Social Dem, populists left and right will unite as independents. I agree, but there has to be unfortunately, there has to typically be a banner that people know that they can affiliate with, even if it's independent, that they know that this is a welcome place for the independent-minded Politico, and that is a good idea. Pirate Justin with the $2. Massey Khanna 2028. I do not see a unity ticket, especially since Khanna is a sitting congressman in the Democratic Party. So I would be very surprised if anything of that sort comes to fruition. Kenman with the 279 Canadian A. Stephen A. Smith studied at Fashion Institute. I see what you're doing there. The implication, because of the implication, as Dennis Reynolds says in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, is very thick with that. Robin the Hood with the 199. Do you have the Gaza land sale company name? I'll go to LA. Not off the top of my head. If anybody wants to put that in the chat, please do. I believe that there's a handful of them out there, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. But a lot of times they like to cover their tracks and not let anybody know that that's what they're up to. N3N195 with the 499. Love that profile picture. Hey, Peter, I admire the bravery that you and Jen have. I enjoy listening to your takes, and I appreciate the unabashed honesty. Keep it up. I appreciate you being here, my friend. Thank you for your support. Citizen Bendejo with the 50 pesos. 100 years from now, aliens will review this period, shocked over how the federal politicians went against billions of voters to keep a PDF operation running. Well, again, it's not even so much about having a PDF operation running. It's about the unrepentant concentration of wealth into a handful of hands that are in support of the most depraved, unholy, evil recessions of society, the worst kind. That's where they are. He who makes the gold makes the rules. It's a tale as old as time. This is not new. And unfortunately, those that have the gold are pretty evil and sinister individuals. And collectively, they think alike. Jim Talib with the $5 super sticker. Thank you so much, my friend. Libertarian Social Dem with the 199. Those Belfast riots are manufactured by Brits. They probably are. Jen and I will cover Belfast on Monday. Kenman with the 279 Canadian A. Chalamet is a Zionist. I don't know much about Timothy Chalamet. I'll take your word for it. I haven't even looked into him. But if it turns out that he's a Zionist, I wouldn't be surprised. I do not pay attention at all to any of the comings and goings in the entertainment world. It is of no interest to me whatsoever. So if it turns out that, Chalamet is a Zionist, that's pretty on brand with who actually makes it far in that world. Pirate Justin with the $5. One for the road. I bought SpaceX. Wish me luck. I mean, I don't know what you really want me to say to that. But apparently, I don't know what the IPO, the initial public offering, is going to be in terms of the SpaceX stock. But let's put it this way. It's a rigged game. And it's rigged to the point where Elon might well be a trillionaire in the not too distant future. What the fuck does money even mean anymore? Am I right? And finally, Morty Furham with the, what I think amounts to a $20 contribution, the 200. Forgive me for not remembering where NOK is located. Is it Germany? I think that might be it. Norway. Thank you, Jen. Thank you. Despite all the setbacks, there you go. So I guess Elon did what he needed to do to beat out the rest of, the wannabes. But this is not anything to celebrate. This is a complete collapse of the economic system. It's been a long time coming, and maybe now people will start to understand that. Will understand. Yeah, give them the gold sticker and reset it to 0. Start again. You beat the game. That said, I hope you enjoyed it. We love you all. We appreciate you all. Smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things we ask you to do. We will see you Monday, and free Palestine. Good night, guys.